Papua New Guinea. It's 6 minutes past 9 as I hit the road in Port Moresby, and we are coming to a usual traffic jam. It's Chief John Endemongo Kua on the line, and we're going to go into discussing the political crisis. So our followers, People's Anti-Corruption Movement followers right throughout the country, please join us this morning and comment. Or you can always call us on our line 71948484 and 75895389. This morning, I'd like to appeal to all Papua New Guineans right throughout the country. We have seen what greed can cause a person to lose his sanity, and I don't think any of you has any doubt that the current leadership or our Prime Minister, the Honorable James Marape, the member for Tari Pori and the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, is now a victim of political greed and blindness. The country is at its lowest. Fletcher Morobe, one of the longest serving construction companies in Papua New Guinea, has closed its doors. And many small companies and businesses are closing their doors. Not because there is anything wrong with this country. It is simply because of the lack of leadership in this country. There is no law and order. There is no law and order. You cannot do any business without law and order in this country. You've seen the rural farms close up. Small cash croppers have closed up because of poor road conditions and no law and order. So they packed up and have flooded. Urban migration is just growing out of proportion. And you can look at the city of Port Moresby. You look at the swell up of people in all the cities like Goroka, Hagen, Ley, Port Moresby. People who normally lived off the soil have migrated to the cities, hoping that they scavenge for an opportunity, find a job, create a business, and survive, basically to survive. And here in the city of Port Moresby, the population of migrants, urban migrants from the rural areas, especially from the populous islands region, Ella, Enga, 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, plantations in all the rural areas, the coffee plantations. We have not solved the leadership crisis. You had one opportunistic leader succeeded by another opportunistic leader without any vision, no plan, no commitment to the rule of law. Every leader that came in came with their own scandal. And you can see the result of that is that the economy has sunk to its lowest. 40% of this country's population is living under the poverty level. And they've been living under the poverty level permanently. Permanently, I mean permanently. Not able to live a decent human life. The minimum wages are so low, we don't know who's setting them. The economic growth has been almost zero. Mines like Poker have closed because of poor leadership. And what next? So we are struggling to find some leader that can come and be decisive, restore the rule of law, make sure there is law and order in the streets, people have employment, they should be directing growth. That's not the case. You look at the current Prime Minister. Honorable James Marape, the member of Tari Pori, since he became Minister for Finance in 2019, in 2012, when O'Neill took over as Prime Minister, he was Somalia's Education Minister before that. But since the overthrow of the Somali government, the de facto O'Neill government, it was a de facto government because there was no proper change of government. It was done unlawfully. Even the courts have restored the government, and they go on to cause another impasse by performing a constitutional blunder in re-electing O'Neill for a second time when the constitution didn't allow it. And of course, the judges were not able to read the law as they should. And so many things have happened in between. And now we come up with a man who is so blind, and his greed for power to sustain himself because of all his criminal conduct is so overwhelming that he's willing to go the distance to defy the law of gravity, so to speak. In other words, he's saying that operating outside the law is now the new norm. And that is very dangerous, Papua New Guinea. On Tuesday, the 8th of April, Parliament was recalled. And people were expecting a change in the leadership on the basis that the Prime Minister, Honorable James Marape, would tender his resignation for failing the country of Papua New Guinea. That didn't happen, to the dismay and to the nation's dismay. And the members of Parliament who are sticking with Marape do not have the ability to make up their minds because a lot of bribery was involved in electing supporting James Marape. And I have provided clear evidence of bribery paid to members of Parliament. The member for one example was the member for Wungai Bena, Honorable Fio Kinoka. Fio Kinoka has been a beneficiary of the PNG Connect program before he became a member of Parliament. And through his construction company known as Too Good Construction. And after he's become a member of Parliament, he just has the right of way to getting all these major contracts. The latest contract was for a contract for almost 300 million, given to Fio Kinoka. And that doesn't stop there. If you look at all the members of Parliament, they own a proxy company, or they have a relative who owns a company for them, and they're getting all the top contracts. They're maintaining the district roads, they're maintaining the hospitals, they're maintaining the airstrips and airports. It's become a norm. It's become a norm in Papua New Guinea, where leaders have enriched themselves on the breakdown of the rule of law. And so you see a very small class of elites who are filthy rich. They own all the land titles in the cities or the state leases. They take them all. The current lands minister, John Rosso, is said to have owned land that's staggering, valued at almost more than $1 billion kina, both in the city of Leh and Port Moresby and elsewhere. And he won't be investigated, just like all his predecessors. They use their power, they use the office, they abuse the powers in office to enrich themselves. And this is where we are. We have Ordinary people who are struggling on the streets, as you can see, the roads are not clean. Port Moresby has become a pothole city. There is no housing provided for workers in this city or the people of Papua New Guinea. Every time they try to move into some vacant land, vacant state land to create a habitat for themselves, the Department of Lands and the politicians always find an excuse to get the title, and they keep kicking them out of that place, causing so much suffering and damages to the people, and nothing happens. The government has not even started a housing scheme in Papua New Guinea, in the city of Port Moresby Lay, for a very long time. I think 10 years ago, uh, the O'Neill government had made a lot of noise on the Duran farmland in Port Moresby. And what has happened to Duran Farm? Duran Farm was declared a housing project, and soon all the land was divided, and most of the titles ended up with the politicians and the bureaucrats. So you can see that all that corruption has taken its toll. 40% of this country's population is living in poverty. And that is not a concern for these 118 people on the floor of parliament, because their pay is coming, because they're leaders. They have to get their pay higher than everybody else. They have to get their square share of the DSIP higher than everybody else. They don't care if there is no books or pens and if the schools are not functioning. They don't care if the hospitals are not open. They have to have the money. They have to have the money. So we have created a monarchy, an authoritarian rule by our members of parliament. And we've become so dependent. We have not even questioned them. We take it, we take the problems, we suffer the consequences daily in pain, and we don't even hold our leaders accountable. And that is where we are. I don't know. I don't know why we do that. But of course, Papua New Guinea is a rich country. It's nobody's people are living in the villages. They don't need money. They are subsistent. They grow their own food. So that conditioning has taught us to be very, very compatible with whatever rubbish is thrown at us. So we don't have proper housing. We all live in settlements, but we accept it. We get up with a smile, and we go about doing things. Our kids' schools are not up to standard. Our hospitals don't have drugs. People are just dying. They're thrown in the morgue, and there's no explanation for that. But we keep accepting that. You look at the minimum wage, 3.50 per hour. Now, this should be the lowest in the world. You can't afford nothing. How do you expect the country to flourish and be prosperous with minimum wages? These are slave wages. These are almost like you work for nothing, you get nothing. You just work to put bread on the table. And we are talking about the 21st century, Papua New Guinea. And we accept poverty, that life of poverty as part of us. And it's unacceptable. Now let me get back to the story. Honorable James Marape, Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, in 2019-20, soon after he overthrew O'Neill, he landed on a windfall. And what was the windfall? There was a pandemic called COVID-19, and the world went into a military lockdown. And so was Papua New Guinea. It was a scam of the century, a human scam of the century, or a human scam of a magnitude that has never been experienced before. But all the leaders of the world enriched themselves using that medical scam, that pandemic. What happens in PNG? James Marape and his government are given 1.5 billion US dollars. Now you make a conversion, that's something like 3 or 4 or 5 billion. That money was put under the control of the pandemic. And the control of the pandemic was none other than the police commissioner, David Manning. Since 2020, after the pandemic has been lifted, there has been no accountability of that $1.5 billion. Even the Prime Minister was recorded on radio when he was speaking to his members or his caucus that Pangu Party will use this money to win the elections. And it is on record. It's on audio. It's permanent. Everybody knows about it. Now, one more startling thing is that the Prime Minister, in his capacity as Finance Minister for the last 7 years under the Peter O'Neill regime, has never ever complied with the Public Finances Management Act. The Public Finances Management Act requires a audited report of all public accounts conducted by the government of Papua New Guinea, from the national level right down to the LLGs. But since Marape became finance minister, there has been zero accountability over public finances. And as far as the country is concerned, that is okay. Now you are talking about anything between 300 and 400 billion kina, which has not been accounted for over the last 10 to 12 years. And that is the very guy who is now the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, and he continues to be Prime Minister, and he is not even ashamed of that. Now, why I'm repeating this call is because when some young fella goes into the shops or Chinese shops in Morocco, Gero, or wherever, and they pick up a can of oxen palm or a can of fish, what do? Everybody screams, thief! He's soon punched up, beaten up, and the police can pick him up. They don't even charge him. They let him rot in the cell, and he goes straight to Bomana for more than 6 months. Now, similarly, and I'm saying similarly, the Prime Minister has decided to commit a crime of theft.